5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Materialize. Hello, Aries. Welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Virgo. This is happening on the 7th of March at 11:42 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. And it's also the final full moon of this trip around the zodiac. If we think about Pisces as the accumulation, the culmination of a cycle, and Aries as the beginning of a new one, you can see how a full moon in Virgo is the final release. The sun's in Pisces, the moon's in Virgo. It's the final expulsion of the old cycle. And this happens every year. What doesn't happen every year is that the planet Saturn, who has been in Aquarius since March of 2020, is also moving signs. Saturn will be making its entry into Pisces a couple of hours after this full moon. And so it does feel like a wave or a final push into the new cycle of our lives. I want you to think about, without triggering you in any way, gently, think about March of 2020. And think about everything that we've been through since then, and think about all of the different triumphs of will that you were able to achieve during this, Aries. Think about the tests and the worry, the fear, perhaps, of hurting people that we love. And think about the restriction that Saturn brings with it in relationship to your sense of community, your sense of the greater idea of the human species. It's quite obvious when you put it in such bold terms, right? You can really see that in our recent history, humanity itself has been put under the biggest test of will that probably we'll ever experience in our lifetimes, and how we've managed to sink to the bottom and to come up again. Some of us easier than others. But who are you now? And how is that sense of healthy restriction, and how are your tools of regulation able to inform the next step? Now, depending on how old you are, you might be able to think back to 30 years ago, you might not. But the last time that Saturn was in Pisces was 30 years ago. And so what we're experiencing now, for a lot of us, is the first manifestation of the idea of Saturn in Pisces. And so we know that Pisces erodes things, it breaks it down. Pisces is that limitless space that we can all swim around in and make that connection, make this connection. You know, we can really feel the barriers between form disintegrate. Saturn brings lessons. Saturn brings a healthy boundary if we work with it in the right way. So if your mind is opening up to the possibilities of a spiritual practice or a spiritual life, or of your own private, unknown, unspeakable spirituality, then you can probably look to the next few years as a great period of time where you've got some regulation in that area for you. If you're connecting with the universe in different languages that you didn't used to, if you, in your solitude of the last 3 years, found solace and comfort in a practice that allowed you to feel more a part of something, allowed you to find the language of your own identity, that perhaps there was restriction there before. If you're coming into a space where you're like, this is who I am, this is me, this is my experience, I've always been this. It's taken me to this point to really stand my ground. Pisces in the 12th house, as it is for you in your birth chart, if you're an Aries rising, is an unconscious realm. And so it's good to have a sense of boundary there. It's good to have a sense of protection so we don't steer, so we can steer clear of any potential guru characters that might cross our path. On this search for understanding and belonging, Saturn in Pisces is really going to hold you in good company, Aries, to protect your energy from folks that aren't there to provide you with growth. You're very autonomous, Aries. You're very good at doing things by yourself, always. It's something that we all can really rely on you for, is that encouragement of confidence in one's own self. And so keep that with you and allow this Saturn in the 12th house for you to be something fruitful. You can work with the lessons of the past 3 years, really pick apart what you've learned and who you're becoming, and take those guidelines with you into this next cycle. In 2 weeks, we'll be having a new moon in Aries, and also this year we'll be experiencing eclipses in Aries and in Libra. And so I dare say that there's going to be some real shedding for you in terms of your sense of who you are at your core. Below the ego, below the physical body, that sort of unknowable spiritual essence is really going to come into battle this year in a really beautiful way. Because you've got Saturn in the 12th, you know that you're not going to swim out too deep. You know where you're going. So let's have a think about Virgo. So Virgo rules your 6th house, Aries, which is where we come into rhythm, where we find the ritual of the day, and where we really have a strong sense of our health and our body. How does the physical ecosystem work in good harmony with our spiritual ecosystem? The sun's in your spiritual ecosystem, the moon is in your physical system. So I think at this full moon, it might be a really great moment to consider your health, what you're putting into your body, how you're activating your organism, what's keeping it in a healthy rhythm and what is detracting from that. Are there things that you might be able to name as a habit rather than something that's really helping you out? Is there a way that you can get back into a rhythm, a daily rhythm that has all of your, what's that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs? The bottom one is food, shelter, safety. Is that being taken care of? If it's not, let's have a real look at that, right? Let's really get you into a space where you have an anchor, because the next few years are going to be really opening up all of these different other potentials, these different pathways. There's going to be a great deal of change, especially in your birth chart. And so we want to make sure that we have a healthy sense of boundary and reality in our lives, so we can stand there and let the branches reach out, we can grow our essence. All of those things that you've been thinking about, Aries, it's like, oh, this is who I am. Dare I say it? I better not say it. That's all going to fall away from you You're going to remember that the planet Mars, the sword and the shield of the zodiac, is the planet that rules your sign. You can act in confidence. You can step out. You can move forward in confidence because of Mars as your guiding light. So, Virgo is the hermit in the major secrets of the tarot. The hermit does take themselves away, separates themselves from the responsibilities of a social life in order to ground themselves, like Virgo, mutable earth, clay. They ground themselves in the soft earth so they can open a portal to seek out spiritual lessons and spiritual guidance, so they can come into alignment with who they truly are, who they truly believe themselves to be. They find the language for it. They use the language, and they're proud of themselves for doing so. They know that it's the truth. They know that language evolves. They know that society takes a little while to catch up to that language, but they eventually do. So yeah, really think about your physical self. There's another card here I want to show you quickly, and then I'll grab you some intuitive ones. But the moon's at 16 degrees of Virgo, the sun's 16 degrees Pisces. The tarot card for 16 degrees of Virgo is the Nine of Pentacles. And this talks about pure autonomy. This talks about control over one's environment. This talks about having the resources enough to regenerate, to keep yourself in a beautiful garden. And also it's a kind of a moment of contemplation too. It's sort of like putting tools down and assessing where you are, seeing the physical results of your incredible hard work, allowing the sun to kiss your skin, and probably opening a bottle of Chardonnay or something like that. Celebrating the achievements, celebrating everything that you've come up against since Saturn entered Aquarius in March of 2020, and landing here and thinking to yourself, holy shit, like I made it through. It was hard. And because I believed in myself, because I believed myself, because I really recognized that I wasn't bullshitting, that the way that I see life, my perspective, the way that I involve myself, present and exist in this life is the truth. This is my identity. This is who I am. I'm very proud of that. And it's reaping great results because I take care of myself and my health. Let's get some intuitive tarot. There's a wonderful sense of support in Aries too right now. I want to mention as well before we get these cards out. But a couple of days after the full moon and after Saturn moves into Pisces, after we start this new cycle for Saturn, Jupiter, who's in Aries right now, will be making an exact conjunction with Chiron, the wounded healer asteroid, on the 13th of March. And so this feels like an extra layer of healing that will happen. As I said before, as we move further through the year, we're going to come up against some confrontation in Aries and Libra. But I think that this cleansing moment of perhaps looking at some older wounds or some hidden wounds or some unconscious wounds or parts of yourself that just sort of haven't had the light of day for a while, there is going to be a moment for you when Jupiter meets up with Chiron on the 13th to kind of allow that sort of salve. It feels like a burn and it feels like a sort of cold compress. It's like this is here and this is going to be healed. And if we heal this, then there's no limits to what we might achieve. I got some lovely cards here, Aries. I got the Magician. And I got the Five of Pentacles. And then I got the Ten of Pentacles, which is quite a jump. I think that we can safely say that this feeling of neglect, this feeling of worry about not having enough, can probably step aside for you, Aries. I think that you're learning a lot about rejection or potential rejection and this feeling of like steeling yourself against it. I think that what you're learning is that what's to come is a beautiful legacy because you were brave enough to stand on your own 2 feet. You were brave enough to tell everyone who you are. You were brave enough to say, this is my life, these are my principles, this is my guiding light. I choose this pathway because this pathway serves me. This pathway makes me feel like I'm a real person. This is who I am. This is my name. This is me moving forward. And from this feeling of rejection, we enter into a space of warmth, 2 arms wide open, ready to receive you exactly as you say you are. And that all comes from magic. That all comes from recognizing that you have powers that are sort of like wild. You think about things, you dream about things, and sometimes they come true. Your motivation is coming from a place of honesty and of happy optimism. You just want the best for everyone. And they really appreciate it. They love you. I love you. You're doing the right thing, Aries. Keep going. Keep going. Keep proving yourself. Proving your position. You don't have to prove your worth because you're worth all of the stars in the sky, even if you do nothing. That's your reading, babe. Full moon, last one. Break the cycle. Say thank you to everything that's happened since March of 2020. Say goodbye to it and start the wheel again. What's going to happen? It's up to you. Head to umaruby.com, get your birth chart read by me if you haven't already. Also, you can send me some tip money at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. If you'd like to throw some money in the tip jar, that'd be so much appreciated. Not essential though. This work is always offered with love and freedom. I'll be speaking to you in 2 weeks though and preparing us for the new moon in Aries. Now this is an interesting one because we've got a couple of lunations happening in Aries. We get a new moon first, then we get an eclipse a month after. So let's work together. Also, if you've not subscribed to my newsletter, excuse me, you can sign up and I send out some musings every time we change seasons. So I'm going to be writing an Aries newsletter and publishing that as well. So if you want some extra special wishes, sign up there. Sorry, I'm you. Do what you want. Yeah. Like, subscribe, or not, as well. That's completely fine too. I'll see you later, Aries. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.